Thank you. Everybody, we want to first apologize for the length of time that we had you all in the hallway, but there were many important issues that need to be discussed. So we thank you for your patience. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to request roll call vote. Establish the board.
Ms. Jackson here, Ms. Lang here, Ms. Sinsworth here, Dr. Coleman here, Ms. Real
Here.
Mr. Hartford, Dr. Lockdown.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to stand and recite the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. At this time, our vice president, Dr. Coleman, will read the board of honors.
Clearly, the Special Education Board of Riverview Garden is a cohesive team. We pause to hear all voices after someone speaks. We consider all opinions and assume positive intentions. We strive to reach collective agreement and collective voices reach decisions. We honor and respect the work of the board, honoring and supporting the board decision at all times. We strive to be prepared for meetings. The board reviews the packet and submits questions within the established time frame. Members of the board arrive 5 minutes prior to the start of meetings. Administration sends board packets to the Special Administrative Board within the identified time frame. We do not allow outside entities to dictate board action. The SAB decisions will be made based on facts, policies, and procedures, not individuals' opinions or requests. We strive to educate and encourage the community to follow proper protocols for voicing concerns, policy KC, community engagement.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. At this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? About that, we make the motion to approve the second by the assistant. All in favor? Please vote. I apologize. All in favor? The agenda has been approved as presented. We will now move to the report of excellence.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board members, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues, communities, and scholars. Today we have 2 items for Riverview Excellence. For the first one, I just want to present a resolution that the district received for the Rams Clinic, the school-based health center at Riverview Gardens High School. This was from State Senator Angela Mosley. And in the interest of time, I won't read all of it, but essentially, it is a resolution just in honor of opening the Rams Clinic. And so we will post this over at the high school in the Rams Clinic. I'll pass this around so that you can see. And we definitely want to say thank you to Senator Mosley for honoring us with that resolution for the Rams Clinic. And we know that that has been being a great service for our scholars in our community. Next up, we want to honor our Teachers of the Year. As you see, we have a packed audience today, so I'm going to ask Dr. Tiffany Patton to stand up and come assist me. I'm going to move this out the way. So we have honored our building teachers of the year for Riverview Garden School District. And so we wanted to invite them here so the board can meet them and see them all, present them with a plaque. They've got some other awards and there'll be another celebration for them. But we want to present to them tonight the 2023-2024 Building Teachers of the Year. When I call your name, if you're here, if you can stand up and see Dr. Patton. First, from Central Middle, I have Tyler Schiller. And you can stay up. Go ahead and stay up. From Danforth Elementary, Sandra Richardson. From Gibson Elementary, Jason Beckering. From Glasgow Elementary, Dr. Gina Jenkins.
She's going for me.
All right, from Highland Elementary, Flandra Travis. From Coke Elementary, Maureen Finley. From LeMasters Elementary, Ariane Dino. From Lewis and Clark Elementary, Robin Steele Starks. From Meadows Elementary, Jasmine Liggett. From Michelle Obama Early Childhood Academic Center. The board wants me to take the photos, okay? Don't attack. She doesn't like photos. From Moline Elementary, Pamela Barsh. From Riverview Gardens High School, Whitney Walker. And last but not least, from Westview Middle School, DeAntrell Brownlee. All right, so board, I don't know if we just want to stand up, if we can get a picture with all of the teachers of the year. Presentation. So if IT can play this, and we'll also announce the district-wide Teacher of the Year from all of the candidates.
Like, Mr. T, for the values.
It's a good person. She helps you learn, helps you get level up and my name is Martin, and my school is called Elementary Technology. She's a really good teacher and she likes to help us a lot. Like if we have a trouble with like a quiz, she'll like help us. No, she don't tell us the answer because she can't do Congratulations, Miss Dina, for being teacher of the year.
Yeah, I just want to say that I thank you for being the best teacher ever. That you never stop teaching. If you always be trying to read the video, you know, it's just possible to be. We don't have to be this way. Being there, we're spoken in the classroom is not experiencing culture. That's the experience for the children and the parents. Well, as well. She has almost 100% attendance. You have terrible weather.
Miss Ash is sweet. She greets us, but she greets us with a smile. She's a good teacher because she teaches us stuff that we need to start learning. Congratulations, Miss Bryce, for being the teacher of the year.
I just wanted to say congratulations to Ms. Whitney for winning Teacher of the Year. I enjoyed the way you teach and the way you deliver it effortlessly, and it's easy to understand, and it's better coming from somebody of my color, my race, and my gender. And I really enjoyed my class and experience. Congratulations.
Very great, and he worked hard very hard to be here. All of the ups and downs on a racial at the end of him, and he didn't know what to do. Congratulations to being a teacher there.
I just want to say thank you so much for the recognition. This is what I've always done, and I love what I do. And I'm reminded that the Word of God said that too much is given, much is required. So I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. But I thank you for the recognition.
That concludes Riverview Excellence.
Just real quick, this still starts now and the opportunity to compete at the state level. We know she's going to get it. And we will also have, she also will be honored at a special event that we will hold. And she gets to speak in conversations.
For all the teachers, send me your t-shirt size. I'll have t-shirts for you. Just email me your t-shirt size and I'll make sure I get those on too.
Just congratulations. It is such an honor to be recognized by your district for the work that you do as a mission. So congratulations to you.
Congratulations to everyone. I certainly thank each and every one of you, all of the cheerleaders. And that's really, for me, everybody, me too, you know, put it in the town and we do the work. I appreciate you. I mean, I feel I'm meant to be back in you are.
Yes, I would like to say congratulations to everyone that can still start. It's well deserved. She had my kids, my age. She had my grandbabies. And I am honored and thankful.
I just wanted to read something. This is so ironic. When I ran across this has given me when I was teaching children's church in my church, but it's so appropriate. And to be transparent, rather than being in church, I'm tell pastor. No. It's called Why God Made Teachers in My Hand. When God created teachers, He gave us special queens to help us understand His world and truly comprehend the beauty and the wonder of everything we see and become a better person in each discovery. When God created teachers, He gave us special guides to show us ways in which to grow so we can all decide how to live and how to do what's right instead of wrong, to lead us so that we can lead and learn to be strong. When God created teachers, in His wisdom and His grace, was to help us learn to make our world a better, wiser place. Congratulations. Okay, moving on to patron participation. Excuse me, we have any patrons that are like to report this or either not. At this time, we will call up our student representatives. Our GSD representative.
You have both our young ladies here tonight.
Yes.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, and committee. Many great things have been occurring at the high school in these last few weeks. However, I would like to point out 3 events in particular. Firstly, Dennis Abel and James Hollins, both being senior football players, had a signing day held at our school. This signing day included honoring their athletic career with their friends, staff, and family. Their selected schools are as follows: Dennis Abel, Missouri Southern University, and James Hollins, Missouri S&T. Secondly, during a DECA competition held at UMSL, 4 of our own review scholars won a trophy for ranking 1st through 3rd in their own categories. The names of the winners goes as follows: Mikhail Skikes, Curtis Grivesy, Layden Blackman, and Michael Long, which is the other student representative.
Oh, okay.
These students will be attending another competition held in Kansas City for a chance to qualify for a spot at the International Career Development Conference taking place in April. So I think they deserve a head clap for that. Okay. Thirdly, a top 10 scholar celebration was held to recognize students in their respective grade level top rankings. With many attendees, awards were given out to honor their academic achievements and to encourage further success. A highlight of the event worth mentioning is that over half of the students at the event grade point averages reached beyond a 4.4 point grade average.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Making a report, okay? At this time, are there any announcements? Board members have announcements?
I do.
Yeah.
I have an announcement too, actually. I know superintendent's going to speak about legislative matters. But on Friday, I want to make sure that our board members are aware that there is an advisory committee meeting at 8 a.m. on Zoom. I attended my first one last month. I learned so much about what's going on in the Missouri legislature regarding our schools. It is very important that we are aware of what we are managing in the state of Missouri. Then the second thing I'd like to say is I attended the restorative justice meeting. Am I calling it correctly? Restorative process practices. My heart is still full behind it. I just, to see so many dedicated men, so many dedicated teachers who spoke with feeling, emotion, dedication and commitment to all of our children, all of our scholars. And they explained the process to me. And if you had seen the look on their eyes, we don't see that often enough, and we don't talk about it often enough. I think the community would be very well educated to attend one of these meetings, so you'll understand it's not all bad, regardless of what the media says. We've got good teachers, good men who are stepping up to the plate and helping our children. That's it, President.
Madam President. I just want to share, since it's the end of Black History Month, and I see Miss Nave and I are matching. I told her I was going to take a picture with her. I celebrated my birthday last week, and 2 historic things happened on the 21st. John Lewis was born, and Malcolm X was assassinated on February 21st. And I think it's important that we continue to emphasize information about our history to our children of all races, so they can just be aware of what has happened in the past and make sure that it's not repeated. I also want to share, if Paris is okay, that she is a part of the Delta AREA program, just as Precious was last year. So she will need some supports with ads and tickets for her to, it will go towards her scholarship, scholarship money. So please reach out to her directly to support her. I just want to make sure that you all knew that as well, that she didn't share it on her own.
Thank you, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements? We will now turn to the superintendent's report.
I will ask today that you indulge me. I have quite a bit of information to share. To piggyback on Dr. May's suggestion about Black history, tomorrow there are 3 Black history programs. ACE is having one at 10:30. Central Middle School and Westview will have theirs at 5 o'clock. Also, if we could, I don't know if everybody remembers, last week we lost one of our beloved librarians, Miss Tammy Ray, who was the librarian at Westview Middle School. The district did a balloon launch for her last week. Several of us attended her memorial service, and so she will truly be missed. But we did send additional support over, and she also at one point taught at Meadows Elementary. So I just wanted to mention that. On the 29th, Danforth, Highland will have their Black History programs at 1:30, and Meadows will be at 4:30. There's a science fair at Michelle Obama on the 29th at 8:30 a.m. and a Black History and Science Fair at Moline on the 29th at 5 p.m. Speaking of legislation, the superintendents in the greater metropolitan area are going to Jeff City on 4 lobby days. And so if a board member would like to attend, that I'll send you the dates so that you know, and if there are any of the central services admin who would like to attend. The different opportunities are to meet with legislators and advocate for public education issues. The dates that they will be traveling are Tuesday, March 5th, March 26th, April 9th, and April 23rd. I personally have selected April 23rd to attend. Also, just a reminder for those who are Zooming in, March 25th through the 29th is the district is closed for spring break. April 2nd is the municipal election. We have 2 seats open on our Board of Education. Remember to vote. We also have Prop S for school security and technology. We are canvassing our communities every week. So if you want to join us each Saturday, there's canvassing. Students are more than welcome to attend. Had a great turnout this past Saturday of students from the high school who actually, I understand, had a really good time. So don't forget to vote. Can't tell you how to vote, but we'll encourage you to vote. Also, we will, after the election, we will have our board reorganization on April 9th. That's when we will install our new board members and do the board reorganization. Legislative updates. There's many, I can't express how many bills are out there right now in the legislative world around public education. 2 that we are really focused on right now are Senate Bill 799 and House Bill 2430. Both are tied to the personal property tax. And when you think about the impact that should these bills pass, I'll just share a little bit. It's kind of shocking. So what districts are being done now if they're asked to present a fiscal note? A fiscal note is when a bill is coming down, you can say, fill out a form to say how, if this passes, how it will impact your district. And so the notion is that our lobbyist, who is Scott Kimball, will take those and present them on the district's behalf. So if Senate Bill 799 passes, and that is with personal property tax, if it passes with a 10% reduction, that would impact Riverview Garden School District to the tune of $327,051.55, which would also result in the district having to do a teacher cut. We would have to reduce teachers by 5.36 teachers. If the reduction is at 20%, that would impact the district at, and this is in your end of week notes, board. It would impact the district to the tune of $654,103.10 with the loss of 10.75 teachers. If it is reduced by 30%, that would impact the district with $981,154.64 or 16.7 teachers. That's a lot. Now, if you take that and you couple it with House Bill 2430, I got those here. See what happens when you close your phone out. If you couple, now my phone won't act right. If you take House Bill 2430, which would result in reducing from a 33.3% down to 31%, that's a total reduction of 7.4% in personal property tax. And that would impact the district with a loss of $242,018.15. And if you take that, then that would cause us to cut total of 4 teachers. So the notion is the more reduction, the more financial impact that has on the district. So I'm encouraging everyone, if you know a representative in your area, please reach out to them so that you can talk about the impact it will have on our district. The other impact, there's bills out for IEP consent. And that bill will give all parents who have students with IEPs total consent, which means if there's an issue where a child's IEP needs to be changed, without parental consent, it cannot be changed. There's the one on assessment and accreditation, where there are individuals who are proposing that accreditation be solely based on growth and status. There's the open enrollment bill, where districts have the latitude to say we will accept 3% or allow 3% of our students to go. Even if our district did a resolution that they were not in favor of open enrollment, should that pass, we cannot stop our students from leaving. And so goes the students, so goes that ADA dollars that we have. The impact that that has on all districts, not just Riverview Gardens, is that should this pass and students transfer, that would go into place after people have been hired. And so it would have a financial impact on districts that way. Then there's universal school choice, which would afford parents $6,660 per child who they have enrolled in private or charter schools that would come from the district's ADA. There's a lot more out there that I encourage everyone to look up on these bills that are out, the House bills and the Senate bills, because they have a direct impact on the financial status of school districts. I think I have one more announcement, then I'll be done.
You got an announcement before me?
Huh?
You got an announcement before me, because I was going to make a statement too.
March is School Board Recognition Month. And so we will be recognizing our Board of Education at the March meeting. Please be mindful that there is only one meeting in March. And so we will be recognizing our Board of Education at that time. We're looking for a school location. We're trying to be out in our schools more with our board meetings. And so we will identify a school location for that board meeting and a celebration afterwards. That concludes my announcement.
I just wanted to say too, as you follow through with these bills, it's very important to find out how your legislators vote on these bills. It's very important, and we've been lucky that the people that represent us have voted, to support us. But you really need to make sure, I don't know where everybody lives, but you really need to make sure that you check and see where if your legislator was present and voted to support schools. There's 3 legislators, and I'm not going to say their name, but I know them personally, and they're going to get a letter from me that they need to do a better job. So that's all I want to say about that. I don't want to get all riled up, but just make sure that you know how the people that you have put in office are voting on the issues that concern our children. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. As we move into our items for information, we have one item for information, that is the February 2024 travel report. Making this presentation is Dr. Tiffany Patton, and she is the Director of Professional Development. Dr. Patton, this is compliance with CSIP student performance.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, and community members. You have the travel report before you. Happy to answer any questions you may have about the information. Awesome. Thank you.
Now we move into items for discussion. The first item are policy recommendations. Is she here? Making this presentation, there she is Ms. Jennifer Williams from the Office of Human Resources. She is the Human Resources Manager. This is in compliance with policy CH, policy implementation and dissemination. Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. JPA, community and colleagues. Tonight, I will be presenting 3 policies. The first policy is policy GBEBA, which is drug-free workplace. This policy is being revised to address employee use and possession of marijuana and to maintain the alignment of language to the Federal Drug-Free Workplace Act. The revisions to the policy clearly defines controlled substances, district activity, district property, and prohibited substances. Under policy GBEBA, employees are prohibited from manufacturing, using, selling, transferring, distributing, or possessing any prohibited substances and/or drug-related paraphernalia. It is recommended that the district accepts the revisions as written by the MSBA. The second policy is policy GBEBB-4, employee alcohol and drug testing. The policy revisions are being made so district employees have a clear understanding that they cannot possess, use, distribute, or be under the influence of marijuana in the workplace, regardless of Missouri law. This includes the use of marijuana or marijuana-infused products for medicinal or recreational purposes. The Federal Drug-Free Workplace Act requires employers who have federal contracts directly or through the state to prohibit the unlawful manufacture, distribution, dispensation, or use of controlled substances in the workplace. It is recommended that the district accepts this policy, policy GBEBB-4, employee alcohol and drug testing, as written by the MSBA. The last policy is policy KMB, relations with booster organizations. The district provides a balanced program of extracurricular activities for the benefit of our students. This new policy is recommended to allow the Board of Education and the school administration to encourage active participation in these extracurricular activities for patrons and as well as students. Organizations raising funds for school activities may use schools in our district. They may use the facilities on a space available basis at no charge. A list of the organizations that are officially recognized by the district will be provided to the board by July 1. Parent organizations and booster clubs may only use the Riverview Gardens logo if authorized by the superintendent or the designee. Each parent or booster organization should have a district administrative liaison. It is recommended that the district accept the policy KMB as written by the MSBA as well. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I would like the opportunity for our 2 student board reps to leave. They have school tomorrow. Thank you, ladies.
Bye-bye.
The next item is the summary of fund balance report for the month ending December 31st, 2023. Making this report is Dr. Levon Singleton, CFO, and this is in compliance with policy DIAA fund balance. And it also is in compliance with all goals of the district comprehensive school improvement plan.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I will give 2 summary of fund balance reports. The first one will end December the 31st. So can we pull that report up for December the 31st, 2023? It's the attachment under the second item. Yes, that's it. All right. So what I will do, just for the sake of time tonight, is really focus on the totality of the reports.
So if we can go to the second page of this report, I'll give a summary here. And again, we do this at every board meeting or the second board meetings of every month. But this is a snapshot of our fund balance, if you will, as of the end of December 31st, 2023. So if we look at going over from column starting left to right, beginning of the year, as of July, we started with about $33 million fund balance. Of course, the revenues that we receive and the expenditures that go out impact that fund balance throughout that time period. So through December, we've received about $40 million in revenues. We've expended about $42 million in revenues, which leaves us right now with an ending fund balance of somewhere around $30 million, $31 million, okay? We like to point out this time of the year, obviously in December, the district anticipates receiving personal property taxes, real estate taxes. And so the next report you see, if you keep your eyes on those two middle numbers, the $40 million received through December and then the $42 million spent through December, we'll see a big contrast as those additional revenues start to come in on the next reports. What I will go to is the last 2 pages of this report and to just give us a year-over-year synopsis of where we have been this time over the last 3 years. And so if we look at this time in 21, in the general fund, we had received about $14.5 million. In 22, about $17.5 million. And again, that 21-22 fiscal year was when we really started receiving those ESSER funds to come in and doing some things in the in the school district, and obviously where we are in 23 this time of the year. So we've seen consistent increases in our revenue year over year. And of course, in our teachers fund, we've seen the addition, the same kinds of things happening as well. The $13 million, 12.3, 12.7. Debt services as well. Again, the only things we can do with debt services is pay our outstanding debt. Capital projects, we know that, of course, with ESSER funds, we bought a lot of capital equipment. We've done, I think tonight, Carl Scheit will introduce a couple measures to do some roof replacements. And so we've been spending a lot of capital monies as well. The very last page looks at the expenditures again. From year to year, where were we in 21, where were we in 22, and where are we now? As you can see, of course, with the additional monies that we've gotten, the more money you get, the more money you tend to spend. And so in 21, we were at about $12 million in the general fund, 22, about $16 million. And here we are in 2023, roughly about $20.8 million. And we see a steady increase in a lot of those funds, all of those funds, the teachers fund, debt service has been pretty consistent. We haven't taken on much new debt. And then, of course, our capital projects, again, as I explained, we're taking on more and more capital improvement projects. That summarizes the fund balance report through the end of December. Are there any questions at this time? At the end of December of this past year. So December 2 months ago. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if it's applicable to school districts, but I saw that DESE has something for retention for daycares. Is there a retention that's available for staff?
So we do get, yeah, Mr. Ford is in charge of, we do have a teacher retention grant. We get a small pocket of money through ESSER for teacher retention. And we've gotten that in the past. I think we've done things to improve our wellness lounge. It's for teacher recruitment and retention. Am I missing something, Mr. Ford? Yeah, right. Right. Yep. So we've used it for surveys, stipends, additional measures like that. So I'm not familiar. If you will, can you please forward me that information? We want to look into it. Obviously, we don't have daycares, but we do have an early childhood center. Usually those ESSER monies don't qualify at that level. Typically, those monies were all K through 12. But certainly if it's out there, let's look into it. Let's see it. Doesn't hurt us. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
You can go into your next item, which is the summary of fund balance for January 31st, 2024.
All right, so here we are getting caught up, and we weren't behind. We just the last month we of course had our town hall meeting, and so we limited the agenda, and so of course we're presenting two reports here tonight for the board's attention. So what I really kind of want to do is on the second page, just kind of draw your attention to those middle two columns. I mentioned this earlier in my presentation on the last report to just really show you what typically happens in school districts around these months, okay, in these December and January and February months, okay? Hopefully we've all paid our personal property taxes, and also we've paid our real estate taxes because historically the district has had a very high rate of collection, okay? And we utilize those funds and that is something to be very proud and brag on because obviously those funds go to help supplement our budget as well. So if we look at those middle two columns, again, we look at the year-to-date revenues and the expenditures. We see $49.3 million in revenues and roughly $50.2 million in expenditures, okay? Those monies in the previous month, as I mentioned, was about $40 million in revenue. So we took in an additional $9 million in revenues simply between December and January. And a lot of that was as a result of real estate property taxes and real estate taxes, and of course, personal property taxes, which again, those bills are due around Christmas time, right? It's the Christmas present that nobody wants, but we all have to live with. And so those monies have started to trickle into the district. We do expect that the next fund balance report will continue to pick up a substantial amount of those. For those payments that reached the end of December, they didn't get quite posted. They will show in the January and February reports, but also under the expenditures, we also showed $50 million, $50,220,924 in expenses. And the previous report showed about $42 million, okay? So our expenses are picking up as well, okay? We just want to make sure that the disclaimer is out there, that of course, as the money is coming in, we're spending those monies and we're doing what we need to do in terms of running and operating the school district, okay? Again, I've summarized the other pages in the previous report, and I'll just ask at this point, are there any questions about the January summary of fund balance report? If not, thank you.
Our next item is an item that was presented at the last board meeting, and the board tabled it into this board meeting, and that is the Ungun Institute contract. Making this presentation is Dr. Tanya Patton, Assistant Superintendent for Student Support Service. Here to field any questions that the board may have is Ms. Renee Cunningham and Dr. Marty Casey from Ungun.
Good evening, SAB members, colleagues, and community. As Dr. Jorlin mentioned, this is something that was brought during our last board meeting. It was tabled because there were specific questions. I sent Shay some of the answers to the questions that was asked. I'm bringing it forth again, and as Dr. Jorlin said, I've invited Ungun to answer any questions that you may have about their services.
What we talked about last board meeting. She was asking.
Okay, I ask you. My brain is fuzzy right now. Can you tell me what is Ungun?
Ungun, why don't we let Ungun tell you what is Ungun, Ms. Titsworth? I think that would be, they can represent themselves better than I can. So I'll have Dr. Casey come forward.
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Dr. Marty Casey, and I'm the CEO and founder of Ungun Institute. And I want to, first of all, say thank you to the board for allowing us to come and speak before you today. And I also would like to acknowledge you as well, Dr. Pruitt-Adams. I have been meeting with you all for some of you all for several months. And so your question was, What is Ungun? I would like to first ask, has anyone had an opportunity to go to unguninstitute.com to find out more about who we are and what we do? Has the board done that at all? Because that's important.
I tried, I had a difficult time finding it on the internet.
Okay, we're unguninstitute.com. I'm a global peace ambassador, and Ungun Institute disarms trauma. We disarm trauma in families, in individuals, and in our communities. We deal with trauma on a range, if you will, from bullying to domestic violence, and I'm sorry. You remember now? Okay. And we have 24 billboards up in the city that say stop, breathe, think. Has anybody seen those billboards? Well, guess what? Dr. Marty paid for those out of pocket because that's how much I care about these children in our communities. I got tired of seeing billboards up that said that there's a gun show in St. Charles. And I figured that we needed something positive in our city. And because of that, billboard company out front have partnered with Ungun Institute to make sure that those billboards stay up all year round. Yes.
The program that you are talking about specifically for the high school.
G-Power. So G-Power is what we are proposing to bring to your school. And we are doing this program specifically for you. I am creating this program for you directly because I would have been a graduate of Riverview had I not been expelled. I was expelled 35 years ago because of my own behavior. But I am now a global peace ambassador, so that tells you where we can go when it comes to dealing with our emotions and our trauma. So because of that, I am building a program specifically to your young ladies here that may be struggling in the same manner that I once was. No judgment, just love.
Casey, so I think one of the questions was, how will you be delivering services? What is the method? What is the program? So can you speak more to the details about what you'll be doing?
We are going to actually service you for 15 weeks. And because of the length of time that we have left versus coming into your school, into the high school, 1 hour a week, we are now going to come in for 1 hour and a half, 90 minutes for twice a week. And that gives us more than enough time to coincide with some of the breaks that you all have and making sure that the attendance or what have you, we can work around those things. And so that gives us more than enough time to do that 15-week program. This program is not going to just be built off of what I believe is necessary for the children to have safety as well as the social and emotional skills that's necessary for them at this time, but it is also going to be built along with them. I think it is important that we ask them what they need and what they want and how we can support them. And that is why this has to be a program that when we come in and we are, we're understanding the environment and we're understanding culturally some of the things that they may be dealing with, because 35 years ago at Riverview has since changed. So I need to come in and speak with those young ladies and see what the needs are.
There was a question that was asked about the total amount of participants that may benefit from the program.
That would actually be up to Ms. Nave. Ms. Nave and I have, Dr. Nave and I have been speaking about that. We're going to leave that up to the principal to make that decision. But we know that the base will be 25 plus children.
What school is this? Just the high school?
This will be just for the high school at this time, but we are in hopes that we will build a relationship with you all, and that as we see that this program works, we want to offer as many programs to all of your schools as we possibly can, as well as your parents.
Is it just going for each grade, or going to have some type of?
This will be 9th through 12th, and this is going to be specifically identifying girls who may have some traumatic issues that's showing up in their behavior and helping to help them to stay on track.
One more question. If we have a student that identifies as a female, how will you address that?
That's why it's called G-Power. That G stands for whatever they believe that G stands for. It's about empowerment. Mm-hmm.
I do. So there are two things that I'm unclear of. What is the program? When you say a 90-minute program?
So can I show this to you? I'm sorry, let me let you finish asking.
Okay. What's the program and how is this different from the restorative practices that we already have? And that includes the young men and the young ladies who have traumatic, which, I mean, that's a pretty broad sweeping term. Most of us have some trauma.
We all do.
lives,
Yeah,
okay?
we all do.
You know, different degrees,
Of
but
course.
you know, we navigate.
Uh-huh.
But for children, it's different because they don't have those navigational skills. So program, what is the program that you're going to present? Is it just lectures?
It is not.
Because I read the MOU and I saw something about transitioning to working together to make money.
So what
And
our goal is with these children is to help them to come together by creating and allowing them to create through the arts. The arts is the base of what we do. I would like to show you this, but I'm gonna have to step away from the mic. And I'm hoping that everyone's still here. So as Ungun Institute, again, our focus deals with the trauma and the violence that's happening in our communities. If you see here, this is what we're experiencing, as you all had many different fights that had taken place at the school, and like all districts, we work in other districts as well. So we see this in all of the districts. But this is the travel that is happening from the trauma. It goes to the killing, to the broken communities, and then it enters on this cycle. Our goal through Ungun Institute is bring us up here to the healing side, where we help to build safer communities. And that has to be with the homes, the schools, and the community involved. So the programs that we build, we're going to bring these young ladies along with communicating with their parents. And we also work with a company called JACAPA. JACAPA is going to actually measure everything that these young ladies are going to be dealing with. We will not use their names. We will only use their grades to identify them, but we will be measuring what's happening with these young ladies, because we understand that after COVID, a lot of the social isolation that they experience is now showing up in the behavior. So we have created through our base program these things to address those issues. What I do not have is the pieces that we're going to add on when we come into your structure specifically. We just spoke with the children last week. Thank you. We just spoke with the children last week. That was during the Love Yourself program. And through Love Yourself program, I had 20 minutes to speak. And I think that you all had 3 other organizations, because you mentioned another organization. 3 other organizations had 45 minutes to speak, as well as a 15-minute Q&A. Only had 20 minutes to speak. When I finished speaking, because the children were so involved in what we were speaking and teaching and stating, they asked if I would continue to speak as well as do a Q&A thereafter. The young lady said, one of them asked the question, Dr. Marty, how can we get in contact with you without addressing the school? How can we, if we don't want to go to the office or ask the principal how we can reach you, how can we get in contact with you? Moving in decency and order, of course, I asked those who were there, the administrators, is it okay if I give them a direct number where they can reach me? Because this is what they asked for. So when we show up, we listen so that we can hear what these children need, and we add that into the program. So to your point of what you're asking, what makes us different? We will build according to what they need, not according to what we believe is the answer.
I was concerned mostly about the amount of time, 15 weeks, 15 weeks. That's not a lot of time. We have spring break and testing and all those things built into that. So my concern was 15 weeks at that amount of money when we have other vendors who service us for an entire year for even less than that amount of money. And also I was concerned as an educator myself knowing how long it takes to gather your pool, get your data, find out information on the students that you're working with, and then start the program. I just am concerned that can we do what we say we're doing in such a short amount of time?
Dr. Coleman, I'm going to have Ms. Cunningham speak to that in just a moment, but I do want to address and say this. Our track record speaks for itself. We are the largest anti-gun violence program in the state of Missouri. I am the only Black woman with an anti-gun violence program. I don't just service locally, I service nationally, and I service globally. I'm speaking from a place of my heart right now, you guys, because when I heard about what was happening here in Riverview back in August and September, I personally reached out so that I could come in to offer my services. For me, it's not about a dollar amount. For me, it's about the servicing of the children. I advocate for children in our communities. Because we are doing business and you ask me, what will it cost for me to do what I'm doing? I am creating a program that no one else in this world will have but Riverview Gardens. And I would like to think that the price that I put to it is not only worth what I'm asking to be paid, but I'm hoping that you see that it is worth saving the lives of these children. I have worked with ungunning the parents of Michael Brown, his mother, his father, and his stepmother, Oscar Grant's mother, George Floyd's family, as well as Pop Smoke's mother. This work that I do with Ungun Institute, dealing with violence on a range, I do this out of my heart and the concern for the people. And so my price is according to what I know the outcome will be.
So then I was surprised when we got your proposal at this particular program, because honestly, I was expecting you to come with something that dealt more with the violence and particularly included our male and our, as well as our female students, because when I saw you on the news, and I do know about Ungun, I just assumed that you would come with something that would address that matter. So this kind of threw me for a loop.
Okay.
Okay, so Dr. Coleman, I can speak to that. So they approached us with a full contract, and it was to serve the entire community. We wanted them to focus on the females because we felt like with the restorative, that primarily there are a lot of young men in those classrooms, although young women are served in those classrooms. So we asked Ungun to focus on a female program.
All right, thank you.
So at the time, what, 15 weeks?
Well, actually, at this time, thank you. I'm Renee Cunningham, and it is actually 12 weeks that we have currently left to the end of the school year. And we wanted to service you twice a week. So that was 20 classes that we would have at that time, just because we were scheduled to start a little bit earlier in February. So that's where the 15 weeks came in. When we first started talking to our review, it was back in September. So we've had to adjust accordingly. So it's not going to be 15 weeks. It's actually going to be 20 sessions over the next 10 weeks.
So do you think
It's
that's
still the same amount of time. Yes. Because what we're doing, we're adding another day. We're going to service you. It is our hope to service you on Tuesdays and Thursdays versus just once a week. We are coming in now to service you twice a week. Yes.
so? Do you guys have anything that'll show us the track record that you've made at any other school?
We've turned that in already. Yes.
We
Yes.
we
provided.
Because I want
They
to.
provided letters of recommendation.
I want, when you come and you do that, I want to see
Yes. ma'am.
the results.
Mhm.
You know, because it don't sound, well, it almost like you offering some kind of psychological help. You know what I'm saying? You know, you just sit down and talk to somebody.
Oh, no,
ma'am.
no. So I'm gonna break down the program because you all asked regarding that. So the proposal that we submitted was 3 tiers. And then the first 2 weeks, we set up where we're actually getting to know the ladies. We're doing all our preliminary evaluations with them, getting to know the baseline, where they're at and what they ultimately want it to be, as far as how to empower them through the arts and to ungun them, to disarm the trauma that they in turn, through the individuals that have been picked in that room, to actually ungun them so they'll know which way to go in life. So the skills and the techniques that Ungun actually gives you, it gives you an opportunity, first of all, to know who you are, what you bring to the table, and how and what you're worth. Not just talking to them itself. It's done through art. So Dr. Marty has the ability to really do a couple of things through the journaling, through the arts. And then the second portion, that week 3 through 5, it'll actually be set up where we bring in our partners, where that they in turn are helping with the entrepreneurial spirit. What we found in this particular society, this generation that we're currently, they need to see it and they need to see success. So that's where your outside partners come in with us. She mentioned one, but we have 2 others that we have on the plate so that these young ladies are able to, from what we've identified, what their needs are, where they want to go, and how to get them there successfully by showing examples itself. That last portion is like a graduation program. Not so much that we are giving them the program, they have the charge. Yep, they created it, but they also get the ability to create the process, the product. When we talk about product in that proposal itself, we want them to come out with something tangible. And as we had previous conversations, we want to make sure that it's something that's left for the good of Riverview. So it's say it is a wishing well, some place of peace that you want on your campus. These particular young ladies were the spearhead of that. How are we going to do it? Where do we navigate? How do we build it? And then building it, we build community, because you're going to see other individuals that are there. They say, wait a minute, why are they out there building this and we are not? So just to give you an example of that program with a graduation at the end. And I do want to add just one thing. I also I was in a meeting last week with the class of 1989, and they are willing, because we told them that our program is coming, they're willing to start 2 scholarship funds and to award 2 $500 scholarships from the class of 1989, which would have been the class that I would have graduated from, to give to 2 of the young ladies that will show success coming out of the program.
How do you choose these young ladies?
Again, that we're leaving that up to the principal to be able to choose the young ladies, because we don't know them. And so we can't just come in and say, you know, I will say this, the criteria that we would be looking for is any young lady that's showing any type of struggle in behavior, or has been suspended, or dealing with an extreme amount of trauma, or different things like that. That's part of the criteria. But I believe that Dr. Nave is already, wouldn't that be the same young ladies that was identified at the, because that's what I believe, that they have already been identified. And that was a total of what, about 50 young ladies? So we're going to, again, service, if we split those up, we will service those 2 sets of young ladies on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we're giving more of our personal time, if you will, to make sure that this program is a success. And I say that from a place of love, that I want to do this. It is my honor to do this, to go before these children. Is that it? Okay, that's it. That concludes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the Student Information Systems recommendation. Making this presentation is Dr. Jocelyn Larry. Also, this is compliance with all areas of the CSIP, in addition to policy DJF2 purchases. Dr. Larry.
Thank you. I heard you like sing them. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. JPA, community and colleagues. The Riverview Garden District began using SIS K-12, now Tyler SIS 360, in 2008. In 2023, we were informed that the district would no longer be able to use Tyler's product. They were going to stop making it available after December 2025. Therefore, we created, released an RFP. 3 companies responded: Power School, Infinite Campus, and Focus. Once the companies responded, we set up a committee, about 15 people, And we invited 75 administrators, power users, nurses. We tried to represent every department in the district. We had demos October 13th, October 20th, and November 3rd. Approximately 75 people from the district attended them. After reviewing all the demos and evaluation forms, the committee is unanimously recommending the choice of Focus software. Some of the comments were, it was user-friendly, it integrates with Google Classroom, which we use, as you know, and they have a translation component that we're all very pleased with. We have requested discussion and approval of that package because we want to get started as soon as possible. We still have a year and a half to finish using SIS K-12, but we'd like to start making the company come in and meet with the committee, meet with all various administrators so that we can get started with the contract. Therefore, we are recommending giving Focus a 5-year contract in the amount of $549,000. And we would like to put a contingency of 10% on that. And the reason I'm doing that, this company recommends doing a lot of virtual training. And that's good for some people, but I'm one of those face-to-face. So once we determine exactly what the district needs, we'll be able to see. And if we don't use any of that money, obviously it stays with the district. Do you have any questions?
Yes. There are some lists of districts. Are those districts that use it? Or what other district use the Focus?
The districts that use Focus are Fort Zumwalt, Wentzville, and Special School District in this area. Some districts haven't made their final selections. I was at SLPS the other day, and they just started the process, so they haven't made a decision.
Okay, and the state is using them in some type of way too, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That they may have told me. I can't remember,
Okay.
to be honest.
President. So the $549,000, that's divided by 5 years,
Yes, that's for 5 years.
and you're confident that this is not going to be a program that's going to be, well, I know you don't know because you don't own the company, but
Right.
we're not gonna have to start this over 5 years from now.
I would venture to say now, I've talked to some companies, school district in Florida who use them. They're more prominent in the South than that, and they're just moving up into this area. The other companies that we brought in, for instance, Power School has been existing for a long time, and we felt they were too convoluted. That was too much for our staff. And we had a couple of principals, I can't remember which ones, but they had used it in previous districts. They were very negative in their comments about it. Another one, Infinite Campus presented. And that was the one, I'll be honest with you, that I thought we were going to select until the presentation occurred. And it was, to put it mildly, not good. When we were in the middle of the Focus presentation, several people walked over to me or leaned over and said, this is it. This is the one. And I have to admit, I agree.
Dr. Larry, I appreciate your feedback when I asked about how you came to that decision. I was pleased to hear that Focus was found to be more user-friendly and had seamless integration with the Google Classroom. And also that the parent-student portal was more user-friendly. And that to me is most important.
Yes.
We sit in these trainings and we learn these programs, and I'll tell you, it takes people that are skilled and trained and educated, and we struggle for the first 3 or 4 months of the year.
Yeah.
And so I know that our parents struggle because they call me and they say, how do I do this?
Right.
You know, and they don't mind that it's 11:30 at night when they call me. So I'm so grateful that you considered our audience when you made this choice, something that our parents and our students could readily access, because a lot of times parents are calling and they want to understand, why is the grade this, why is this? And I'll say, well, you know, did you check out the portal? It's just so hard, I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I think that this will cause our parents to be more involved when they are not intimidated by the software that we use. Thank you so much.
I agree. Thank you.
I noticed that for this particular item, there is no contract attached.
I just received it earlier today. I brought it with me and I can send it to you. Like, I did bring it, and I gave it to Miss Fields, but the lawyers had it, and then they got it back to me and et cetera. So I just got it right before we came here.
Okay, they have it on here for an item of action without us viewing that. It's on here as an item for action without us viewing a
The
contract.
contract.
Yeah, we don't have it attached.
Our attorneys have reviewed it. We could
Yeah.
get it to you. The overall cost is there.
Yeah.
But our attorneys have reviewed it. The reason we're wanting to go with it tonight is so that we can start, I hope I say it right, the parallel implementation of it, so we could get out any kinks that may exist as we move forward, so that come December 2025, it's up and running.
Yes.
Concerning some of the applications that the high school, college coordinator may have to facilitate with transcripts, do they do electronic transcripts to be sent to schools? Does it have the capability of doing that? That's
Yes.
one question.
Yes.
Does it have a capability for when it comes to applications and other things that parents need to sign, that they can sign through that system?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that, because that was some of the asks that we had.
Mhm.
Particularly if you think about the discipline code book. Right now, we don't have a way of collecting the signature to say that parents saw it. And this will not allow people to continuously move forward without signing the appropriate document.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can the contract be sent to the board this evening? You can have it
Yes.
sent so they can look at
Ms.
it.
Fields has it.
Okay, thank you. Additional question?
This is the doc.
this today?
I'm sorry.
The question was, can they get the contract today?
I mean, are we voting on this today? We haven't
That
seen
is,
it.
that is our hope and our request.
We haven't seen the contract.
That's the-
I know we was
Yeah,
discussing
we
it.
supposed to
You
see
know,
the
we voting on
contract.
something we haven't seen.
You can approve the agenda item without the contract,
If you want to.
and our legal counsel has
Right.
looked at it.
You should hear, you can hear. it. I'm sorry.
You said the contract is in your possession.
Okay. Is it over here? This, okay. Well, we can make sure that everybody gets a copy. We have some,
Since we have a meeting tomorrow, can we have a quick?
no, that's specifically, I don't think we can hold a meeting tomorrow
That's
to vote. That's
specifically for the
specifically
hearing.
for the hearing.
I mean, so it's no time that we.
You'd have
could
to
do it.
come out of that meeting and start another.
Okay,
That's the decision of the
just-
board.
I'm just wondering.
Okay, yeah. You want to show us which one it is, Shayla, and they can take a shade, you can look at. We'll do that.
May I ask a question, President?
Yes.
On the agenda, before we got it, it stated that it is being reviewed by the attorney, who has been our attorney for a long time.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Attorney Whitecoat.
yes,
Mhm.
and then we have employed her, and I am going to employ a certain amount of confidence that she's the contract attorney. I'm assuming that her part of her responsibility is to protect the district from litigation.
Yes.
So I'm not an attorney. But the money that we're talking about spending for $549,000 over 5 years, that's in the contract. What to your knowledge, what other kinds of just general basic issues would the board have to consider that may be included in the contract that the board may have questions or objections to?
Well, I do know when I sent it, when I first sent it to her, she did make some revisions, and I had to send it back to the company because she said this was not in the best interest of Riverview Gardens. So I sent it back to the company. We've been going back and forth. They made a few if and ands, buts or whatever, and then they sent it back to her. And she said to me when she sent this back that she was in agreement with those changes. So that's why, and then we had to get it signed because Ms. Fields wanted me to give her a signed copy. So that's what I had to wait on this morning. They got it from the attorneys, sent it to the company, they signed it, and then I gave it to Ms. Fields.
So Dr. Larry, could you speak to, I think this is also part of Ms. Lane's question. So the amount is in the contract, the contingency is in the contract. Are there any other specifics in the contract that are outside of what you have in the attachments that you have in the board item?
No, there's nothing else in there.
And Superintendent, your point, I want to make sure I understand. The reason why we want to proceed is to make sure that we're able to integrate the systems.
So we will still have SIS-K. And so as we are building, or the company is building, the focus platform for us with all of the pieces that we are asking for, we're actually asking for pieces that are not in 6K, the pieces that drive us crazy. Will there be a piece where we'll still have SIS-K while the other program is going with it, so it'll be a parallel? So we'll have one program as we're starting to integrate the other one, so that when this one falls away, there's no lapse in time, there's no gaps, we just flow.
And so if something happens, for heaven forbid, that is contrary to this, do we have, would there be, and I guess I should be asking the attorney on the board, are we bound to?
There should be a clause, a termination clause.
Yeah.
Most contracts have them.
Okay.
I would have to see the contract to see what it is.
Okay.
I didn't notice if Shay was going to make a copy of the contract. I saw her come over here. I don't know if she took to make a copy of what
She
have. you.
probably did.
Okay, I think that, looking at our board norms, I think that if we have board members that are concerned about not seeing the contract and we have it on here, I think that it doesn't hurt for us to take a few minutes to let them look at the contract. I think that that's fair. And then we can still vote.
And we're
So
not
if we-
asking for a vote right now, we're asking for it at the end of the meeting.
Right.
So you do have the latitude to do that.
Right.
And if you want, then Dr. Larry has quite a few other items here.
Right.
We can move forward with those and then come back to that.
Right.
I just had one question. So from a project management standpoint, what is the difference of 2 weeks in the project management for the rollout? Because we got a board meeting in 2 weeks. What's the difference in the project management plan?
Well, the only thing was, I wanted to get the company here so we can start talking about making timelines. Because I created, if you notice in the board, a semblance of a timeline. It's not an accurate one, that's by any means. But I just thought the sooner we could get started, because even though it says a year and a half or whatever, in the scheme of things, that's not that long. And teachers have a lot to do. I'm just concerned about the amount of things we have to get done in a short period of time, considering.
Okay, so they haven't built a project management plan yet.
They have, because I haven't officially told them until today
Okay.
that they were the one I was gonna put forward. Because you have to be careful what you say when you do it. The board hasn't approved it, so I couldn't really say too
Right.
much. But I've trying to get as many things as I can in line, so that as soon as you say, okay, I can get them here, we can get started.
Yeah, I just think we're not trying to set a precedence of, we're responsible for fiscal and so forth. We don't want to start doing,
Understood.
approving things without the board looking at the contract.
And just I didn't put the contingency in there, the 10%. That was something that watching facilities and other companies, countries that do that, I wanted to make sure, because I have a fear that we're gonna need, that was my problem with SIS-K. When Nick first developed that program at St. Louis Public, and he was a student, as you probably know. And every time you wanted something to add to, if you wanted to add another module, it was another $2,500. And I didn't like that nickel and dime. So I said, let me allow a contingency in case there's an issue. We have that money out. If we don't need it, don't use it, it stays with the board. We won't mess with that money. But I want it to be available in case something happens like that. Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Sanderson. It's been suggested by our vice president that if she hasn't gotten the contract to us, that we can meet.
Just a few, I was wondering if we could meet briefly for a closed session just to view that contract? Would that still?
Are you wanting to, are you coming at the end of the meeting and then coming
At the end
back?
of this meeting, can we come back and look at it.
The board always has the latitude to go back into closed session. I mean, at any meeting. If you go into, you would have to close out this one, go into closed session and then come back in open session to vote on it.
But it's not a contract that's under negotiation for it to be closed in the first place.
Right.
It's a
Okay.
public.
Well,
contract.
It's
then
a
can
public
we
discussion.
Close this meeting, at the end of this meeting,
We can recess.
can we recess and come
Read
back
the-
and look at that?
Yes.
Okay. And that way we can handle that matter of business tonight, because I do know that you have to put your schedule together and schedule that, professional development. And we already have those schedules in place, and so now you want to add something to it, so we want to make sure we.
Yes.
So is it being requested that we table this item for right now?
Yes.
Then can somebody request that it be tabled?
Yes.
Well, I have one, does the public I'm sorry, President, does the public, if we're gonna do that, come back into open session to make the vote, don't we have to invite the public back into open session?
If they choose to come, yes.
Okay, but we
just
just
talking
make
about
the
recess.
offer, it is a part of, okay, gotcha.
It's gonna stay on Zoom.
24 hours in advance unless there's an emergency.
They don't want to adjourn, they want to recess
But
today. And then read and then come back and vote.
yeah. So the only other point that I want to make is that when we are approving a contract, it's not just for our view, it's for the public's view.
Exactly.
So we will be approving something that the public did not see, and that could be a sunshine
I don't think
violation.
that's what they're saying.
No, that's what I'm telling them. I know what they're saying, but I'm telling them that the public has not looked at it either. That's what I'm saying.
You talking about view the contract.
The contract. Mhm.
So the public still doesn't see it. The public still doesn't see it.
Too many conversations going on. Shay was
Shay
making a
is going to
comment.
give a historical perspective.
Okay, so historically, what we've done in the past, if we have the contract and it's prepared and ready, it's presented at that time. Okay, we always have legal counsel to review on our behalf because it's been known if they have to represent us, then we want to at least make sure that they have seen. But in terms of agenda items, I could go back and pull many agenda items that have been approved without the actual contract being presented at that time. Sometimes the contract comes later, but the board has given the approval for the initiative. And it will state in there that the contract is being reviewed by legal. And it does not get signed. And I'll reach out to Ms. Morrill and say, we finally received this contract. It was approved on so-and-so date. And then once that happens, once she signs, then I scan that agreement back into, not back, but into Board Docs for our record. And I give the original to our finance office. And then the individual, when they pay them, they make note that, you know, this was approved and that the contract is where it should be. So, but it's whatever the board would like to do. Are we gonna go close out and come back in or? Okay.
The next item, so we need to, so we're putting this on hold?
Yes,
You're gonna
get them checked to read it.
Okay. The next item is the E-rate internal cable connections. Also making this presentation is Dr. Larry. This item 2 is in compliance with CSIP goals for student performance and is also in compliance with policy DJF-2 purchase.
E-rate is a program that is administered by the Schools and Library Division of the Universal Service Administration Company under the direction of the FCC. The program is funded through those fees that you see on your telephone bill, the universal fees. The purpose is to increase broadband telecommunications connections in high schools and libraries. It used to be they pay for telephone bill. They stopped doing that. In December of 22nd, we issued an E-rate Form 470, which is the equivalent of an RFP for cable maintenance and new cabling. Considering the fact that we are now moving our board meetings to other buildings, there's always a need to make sure that I have network jacks that are in place, that the cables are not running everywhere. And each year I have this company come out to go through the buildings just to check all the jacks, make sure the cables was in place. We do it at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. And you'll be amazed at what they find. Maybe you wouldn't be. So we are recommending continuing the contract with TSI, which was the only bidder previously. And we asked for $200,000. And that's just in case we need it. If you don't use it, that money just sits there and it goes back over for us to apply for it again next year. This year and last year, we didn't use a lot of it. We used some at FCRC, getting that together, and we're going to go back over there and do some more things because I have a feeling Dr. JPA is going to want to use that building more. So what I do is go through and we look and see where we possibly have a meeting, put some network jacks there, cabling there, and that's what I use this company for. Therefore, we are recommending continuing a contract with them for $200,000. $170,000 comes from USAC and $30,000 from RGSD. And that's only if we use the service. If we don't use it, it won't be used. Additionally, once you approve me assigning doing a contract with them, and I put the old one there for you to see what we signed previously. Once that is complete, we'll be able to file a Form 470, which is E-rate terms of how we get the money. I want to make sure you are aware of that. Okay. Any questions on that one?
Just fun. So you saying that they kind of do like a technology audit for you and make recommendations? Is that?
No,
what they don't get that formal?
No, what they do is they come in, they go around the room.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that fix those microphones, etc. They would go around the room and make sure the jacks are working. Make sure that you have cables that are not hanging out. Some of the schools you go in, instead of people going up to the jack and removing the cable, they pull it. So they break it and then we have to repair it. So that's what they do. They just walk through the buildings, just making sure that those network jacks, cabling, that is in place.
But $200,000?
Yeah, that's just the max we technically have, I think we can request up to 700,000 because of our student population. I just want to I'm so concerned that there will be some other needs. For instance, at Central, Ms. Clark had a room, large room, that she wanted to put 4 or 5 people in. So we had to go in and make it network accessible. We had to go in and put jacks and put cabling. I don't have that a lot, but you just never know what comes up. If you don't use that money, we are not tied to it. It's available for next year. We can go back and use it.
This is just in case.
Just in case.
But in the meantime, this company is just gonna go around making sure that the jacks are functioning.
That's what they're doing, but they're also going around. For instance, I had one of the techs go with them to Moline. They go in those rooms to look like in the gym or in areas where we have these board meetings when we have them out in the class. But a lot of times you go in those rooms, Mr. Sistrunk wants to plug something up. He doesn't have enough available jacks because we don't have them in those areas. So that's what we're doing now. We're checking the jacks, make sure they're in good maintenance, but we're also looking for new places where we need to install new jacks, new cabling. Just when you get to that building, whether it's Moline or whether it's Glasgow, and something doesn't work, Dr. JPA looks at me because she wants to make sure that everything is there that you need. And that's just in case we have to do it.
Dr. Larry, since you mentioned the just in case, and I just want to, for clarification, I'm thinking about even in my home, having that service for my phone jack, and I think I only have 3 or 4 in the house. I do know that when I didn't have that contracted service, when they came out, they said $80 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to know he took his own sweet time.
Mm-hmm.
He got him a lot of hours out of that. So I think as a safety measure, it's only wise that we have a contracted service so that, because this could go into something where you could get a bill where you spend almost $75,000, $100,000 for one service if he has to go in and serve an entire building.
Yes,
Or
I
if
don't.
there's something wrong with the wiring, it's been destroyed by whatever. It's so many things.
And you know, we've had the case at the high school where a rodent ate
Mhm.
through some wires. So it does happen. Yeah. We pray that it doesn't, but it does happen.
USAC, I'm not familiar with that terminology. Who's that?
USAC,
Uh-huh.
Universal Service Administrative Corporation.
Okay.
They are under the FCC.
Okay.
It's the official provider of E-rate.
They're providing some funding for this?
They will, the money comes through them, yes.
Okay.
And because we are 100% free and reduced, we get the highest level of funding.
I see.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Okay. Are there any additional questions on the E-rate? The next item is also E-rate. Making this presentation again is Dr. Larry. I just turn it over to you.
In November 2023, we filed a Form 470 for WAN providers. Currently, we have Charter. At that response, we received Charter, AT&T, Vero Network, and Citranet. Now, Citranet responded without any pricing. So I have to record them because they said this is something to me. However, while AT&T was a little cheaper than Charter, what we have found is that we cannot afford to be down at all. And to switch WAN providers would take cutovers. You know, when I first started this business a number of years ago, we used to spend summers doing technology projects because you had the summers free. That's not true anymore. School ends on Friday and Monday, we're back at it. So summer school. So this is not a good time for us to switch carrier, cutover, to do the cutover and switch carriers. So we're recommending staying with Charter so that we won't have to make those changes. And I talked to my E-rate consultant as well as calling USAC to make sure that that was allowed because they pay 90% of it. We pay 10%. And I want to make sure I'm within the rules. And that's what we would like to do. We recommend a 3-year contract with Charter. It'll be $147,000 for the entire for the year from USAC and $16,000 from the technology budget. Any questions under that
one? Okay. The next item is also E-rate, it's the network internet provider.
Now, this one I expect to hear some commotion about. As you know, last Thursday, we had an internet outage. I never realized, I don't think, how much we really depend on the internet. I mean, our phones were ringing off the hook. We talked to AT&T earlier today, and they've given us some excuses. But we're also waiting on a report and analysis that will let us know exactly what happened. Basically, a card in Schaumburg, Illinois, went bad. They didn't have an extra one, a spare, which is strange to me. But we made some concessions, and I said, you're giving AT&T consumer customers $5. What are you going to give us? Now, of course, I heard crickets then. So what we're proposing, when I came in 2011, we had a 10 megabit internet connection. People were complaining about latency. They were complaining that web pages wouldn't load, et cetera, et cetera. So I bumped it up to 150. We were doing something. Then we moved it to 1 gig. Now we presently have a 5 gig. Well, I am proposing that we have 2 providers. Companies have been doing it for a while. Now, I couldn't imagine going to Dr. Singleton saying, I want $2,500 extra a month to pay for my own internet service. Wouldn't do it. So I found out through school district in Peoria and a school district in New York who were able to get E-rate to pay for it. You can't use terms like backup or duplicate, but you can use load balancing. You can say resiliency and failover. And that's what I'm going to put. In November 2023, we again issued a Form 470, which is, like I said, RFP for E-rate for internet services. 3 companies responded: Education Network, which is our current provider, AT&T, and Citranet. Citranet was $3,100 per month, but they also have an installation fee because they don't have any fiber here. So we are recommending using both Education Networks and AT&T. So we'll have 2 separate providers, but we also have to have another firewall. Remember we talked about HIPAA compliance the last board meeting. So we have to make sure I have a firewall for each of those. So we already have one with the existing provider, and we have a backup one that we haven't, it was just there as a spare in case we needed it. But I'm proposing making it active so that we can have those two providers going at the same time. This one I thought about in the middle of the night after having a conversation with Mr. Sistrom, because we were talking about the need for internet and blah, blah, blah. This was probably a couple of years ago. And he said, you guys got to keep it up all the time. In the middle of the night, I sat up in bed. How am I going to keep it up all the time? How am I going to? And it occurred to me, 2 providers. So that's what I'm proposing. And I'll find out when I submit that Form 470 if they will approve it. Don't know. But basically, it'll be $55,350 a year from USAC and $6,150 from the technology budget. So we are recommending giving a contract to ENA and AT&T as internet providers. Now, we've used them previously, so the lawyers have already, they look over all our internet contracts, they've already E-rate contracts, Attorney White Coleman, very familiar with those. We've had to do some negotiating with those, but that's what we recommend at this time. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next item is federal program supplemental reading teacher professional development. Making this presentation is Mr. Keena Curtis, who is the Director of Federal Programs. This is in compliance with CSIP's Goal 1 and Goal 3, and also in compliance with Board Policy IM, Evaluation of Instructional Programs.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Superintendent, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I bring information regarding supplemental reading teachers and our teaching and method coaches to participate in professional development and tutoring. This support will impact the improvement of the teachers and students. This is scheduled to begin in March of this year and end in 2024 at the end of this current fiscal year. The amount is not to exceed $68,000, and that is inclusive of benefits. And again, Federal Programs is requesting approval for supplemental reading teachers and teaching method coaches to participate in extra duty pay in the areas of extended learning activities and professional development to be paid with Title II federal funds in the amount not to exceed $68,000. Are there any questions?
The next item is roof replacement for Central Services Administration Building. Making this recommendation, this presentation is Carl Scheit, Executive Director of Facilities and Food Service. This is in compliance with policy DJF purchasing.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Superintendent, community, and colleagues. Tonight I come before you with information for roof replacement for the Central Services Administration Building. The district's been working with Weatherproofing Technologies, which is our roofing consultant, as we prioritize our various roofs throughout the district and plan which ones will be replaced. So we've, as we prioritize these, actually, the building to this roof is the biggest priority. We've had situations where we had storm damage that separated the roof membrane from the substrate. We've obviously made repairs to keep it intact, but this roof is beyond its useful life. It's failing. There's more shrinkage and damage to insulation and underneath. So it has reached the point that it needs to be replaced. We utilized one of our purchasing co-ops to solicit bids for this process. And we did receive 3 bids, which are in the background of this information. The low bid is Missouri Builders Services Incorporated at $422,944. What will be recommended is that amount plus 10%. Again, as Dr. Larry was mentioning, we like to put contingency in a project because when things are uncovered, things are discovered, and we want to be prepared for that. Again, we will not spend that money unless we would have to spend that money. So again, if the project goes, as bid, then we would not have to spend that contingency, but we'd like to build it in there so that we're prepared for anything that comes our way. So this item will come back for your approval. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
Quick question. Yes. Was this a part of any of the plans that you might have received when you transitioned to the role? Like, was it already built in as a something to address
Yes, this does predate my arrival. Actually, the Board of Education approved our partnership with Weatherproofing Technologies, and that's actually done, I think, on an annual basis. So they have continued to serve the district. And so upon my arrival, obviously, we sat down, reviewed where we are and where we need to go. And that's what's ultimately led to this item being brought forward, as well as the following items.
So do we have any other schools that need this to be addressed as well?
Yes, so actually the next item is for Lewis and Clark
No,
Elementary.
I'm saying any other beyond the two that's.
Oh, there are other schools, but they are ranked on in terms of priority of need.
Okay.
So the most eminent happen to be the Central Services Building as well as Lewis and Clark Elementary.
And we've been doing, I know since I've been here, we've done some work at LeMasters, the high school, couple of the buildings at the high school, you know, we have more. And in some other buildings, so it has been a progression.
Yeah, I have an actual breakdown that looks at all those priorities going forward over the next couple of years. So, you know, for instance, the next one in line will be Coke. There's some sections of roofing over at Central Middle. So we have a breakdown of those various roofs and as we need to progress through those. And obviously we'll work with Dr. Singleton as we work on our budget to budget for these things and execute as needed.
You said you had 3 bids
That is correct.
and you just giving us the result of 1 bid?
No, all the results are listed below in the background of the information.
We got the paperwork?
In the board item? Yes.
Okay.
Is it right? Oh. Ishmael, could you help put the window down over there?
She has a.
It's raining over there on people, I think.
Miss Saint, you can ask
Ma'am?
your question.
Okay. I get emails periodically about solar panels. I don't know how old this building is. I don't know, really, we all want newer buildings. You know, Central is 100 years old. I don't even know if those kinds of issues were something that you guys considered for future planning. Did you consider all of that, all of the new technology of solar and how we could benefit from something like that?
So I have had a previous experience in another district where we did have solar panels. And one thing that we want to make sure you do prior to exploring solar panels is make sure that your roofs are in good conditions in order to install those solar panels. There were a few years back, there were previous incentives that existed for school districts. That funding has kind of dried up for the moment. I know there is other discussion out there about another surge of funding as it relates to solar. So I would suspect that there will be some more incentives coming out that way. So we can definitely re-explore that to where
I
it could
do
be.
this part first.
Yes, we need to have our roofs in sound condition before we start
Okay.
placing solar panels on them.
One of the things if I might interject, when we think of roofs, you know, sometimes we think of like a roof at our home, just one roof. Many of our buildings have multiple roofs. I'm gonna pick on LeMasters again. I think it's like 30-something roofs on that one school. And yes, and so as we've been replacing them prior to Mr. Scheidt's arrival, we've even been trying to use a different product that lasts longer because what was used with the original buildings has lost its
Yeah, it's about,
its lifespan.
yeah, it's about the number of plies, the layers of the roofing material. So you want a multi-layered or multi-plied material that makes it more resilient to anything that may fall on it that could cause damage or penetration into the roof surface. So that's a key focus of our work as well, is to kind of fortify our roofs so that they can withstand things that could damage them.
Has the contract been received? It wasn't attached either.
That we will get that to you before the approval.
But we won't get that until we pick the company. Because you're making the recommendation.
Right, we obviously have not engaged until we get approval of a selection of the company.
We're asking approval at the next meeting.
Thank you.
There's
Are
no
there
other,
any other questions? I'm sorry. Are there any other questions? The next item is the roof replacement for Lewis and Clark.
Okay, obviously similar process here. Again, this was another roof that was on our priority list. So again, utilize the same methodology, sought out competitive bids, which are listed in the background of this item. Again, the entire roof at Lewis and Clark is in poor condition. We have, we have had leaks in the past. We have some damage in insulation. We have shrinkage of the membrane itself. So when we have new leaks, it's very difficult to try to patch them just because the material is no longer viable for the patching process. So again, that's why we're seeking a roof replacement. This one, obviously, since it's a more sizable roof, has a more sizable price. So again, these did kind of fall in line with what our budgetary estimates were prior to this. So these prices do align with our budgetary estimates that we had previous. Take any other questions you may have.
That concludes our items for discussion. I know the board asked to look at the contract. You technically don't have to recess if you want to take some time and read it now. That way you don't have to step away and come back.
That was going to be my question. After we did the approval of the consent agenda, I saw several people taking the time that wanted to see the contract. Do you feel that you're informed enough to make a decision?
I do want to also add to Dr. May's comment about the public seeing it. There are times that it is added after the fact. And Ms. Fields, once the board approves, will put it into board docs and individuals can go back and look at it.
Okay. So we'll go to item number 11 at this time, which is the approval.
The item for undone was under discussion the last time, but for some reason it's not under consent.
It's under
It's
action
under
because
action.
there was so much controversy about it.
But I'm saying it was discussion the last time.
Right,
But
but,
it wasn't put under consent.
but I'm saying the reason it was
So it
not
could be
put under,
discussed.
was not put under consent because there was a lot of questions about it. We got questions since the last board meeting. We had questions relative to this. We did not want to make the assumption that it was an automatic pass for the board, and that's why we put it down under action.
Well, it wouldn't have been a pass anyway, because we could have pulled it in consent if we wanted to put it.
Yes, that is true, but
Yeah.
that's the reason we put it down.
Okay.
Okay. So far as the items for consent, might have a motion to approve the items under the consent agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved by Dr. May. May I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. Tissot. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We will now move to items for action. Student information system recommendation. I have a motion.
That's the contract that you
Yes.
have.
Yes, that's the contract for Ms. Larry.
Oh, I make a motion that we accept the student information system recommendation.
There a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Coleman. All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose.
Okay. Opposed.
I'm just gonna suggest, because you didn't hear everybody's voice, and this was such a question item, I would recommend that you do a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you. Shay, would you do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Dr. Von Elliott? No.
Jackson?
No.
Harsley?
Yes.
Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mario?
Yes.
Thank you.
We will now go to the item Ungun Institute contract. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the undone contract as presented.
Dr. May made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hartson, second. We'll do a roll call vote on this as well.
Any discussions there?
Is there a need for further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, Shay.
Ms. Gordon?
Yes.
Speak, we couldn't hear you.
Yes.
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 No.
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 What was that we going over there?
Said everyone?
I'm done.
You need to say that the motion
I
failed.
couldn't hear you.
You need to say
Motion
the
fails.
motion failed.
Okay, the motion fails. May I now have a motion for adjournment? Okay, Ms. Jackson, was first with the motion for adjournment. Ms. Tisworth was second. I'm so sorry, I'm tired. Was second.
She could come here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Y'all talk real loud on that. The meeting is adjourned.